Hey guys, here we are again with me, Ayline, talking about singing and playing the guitar at the same time. Two very difficult things, even when it's separate. So putting them together is quite a challenge. So either grab your microphone or don't grab a microphone. The only thing you really need is your voice. Let's get started. Okay. So if you remember the last two episodes, we really talked about the guitar part of this whole process. Singing is a whole other instrument. I know in the first episode, I had asked you to print out the guitar chords so that you really pay attention to where the lyric falls with the chord change. Now, singing is one thing, guitar playing is another thing, but when you put them together, it's challenging because it's a rhythm pattern and it's like drummers, you know, their arms are independent of their legs and they've got all this stuff going. A lot of drummers even play two bass drums and using all four limbs. Really, really talented drummers can even do all four limbs and sing. So can you even imagine how difficult that is? I don't think I can do it, but I will guarantee you this. If it's something that I wanted to do, I know that I could do it. It just takes practice. That's all it takes. If it's something that you really want to do, the only reason you wouldn't be able to do it is because you told yourself you can't do it. Because if I can do it, anyone can do it. One really great exercise that I did was just like I taught you last week to record yourself while you're playing the guitar and then singing to that recording. This time you're going to flip it. You're going to record yourself singing rhythmically, right, in time, and then you're going to replay that and you're going to play the guitar to that. So I recorded myself on the iPhone and you will hear a metronome behind it because it's really important to rhythmically sing it properly as well, okay, because you want to be in the right timing. And you'll notice, hopefully you'll hear this, that it is, I'm going pretty slow. I'm going to start with just the down strum. Here we go. Add a strum to that. See how it goes. You're the magician's assistant in my dream. Now the down, up, down. Down, down, up, down. And it keeps going. Let's just pause that. All right, so that's what you do. Now, you could take it slower. You could take it a little faster, but try it that way. And then the other thing that I did was I did that exact thing, but I sang along to myself singing along. So those are some of the tips and tricks that I did when I was teaching myself to sing and play the guitar. And hopefully you learned a little bit of something new, focusing on just the singing part. Record yourself singing. Use that metronome. Super, super important. Listen to it. Play along to it with the easiest strum that you want to do. And you could keep that same recording, right? And add additional different types of strums to that when you feel comfortable with the guitar. But the most important thing is you really have to know the song lyrically, vocally, rhythmically, singing it before you try to put both of them together. All right. Hope you learned something and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
The topic of this video today is the bar technique. First, let's take a look at different types of bars. There are a full bar, a half bar, and a hinge bar. A full bar is when your first finger covers all 6 strings. A half bar is when the finger covers multiple strings, but not all 6. It can be covering 3 or 4 strings at a time, for example. The hinge bar is when the finger joint bends like this to press down middle strings while allowing the higher strings to stay open. There are different ways of notating bars on music. Sometimes the bar might not be indicated at all on the score, but it will be implied. Or you have to figure it out on your own, like this segment here. Take a look at it. Because of the G and the bass needs to be held over, we can figure out that we need a bar based on the given fingerings. To make the best sound out of a bar, always use the edge of your index finger. This part of the finger is less fleshy, making it easier to press down the strings. It's like how we use fingertips instead of the soft part to press down the strings. Also, if you use the fleshy part of your index finger, it puts other fingers in an awkward position. Just like when we press down strings with fingers, keep your bar close to the fret. Use the muscle that you use to turn a key to press the bar down. In this video, we'll take a look at a few examples of how to shift comfortably and smoothly with your left hand. First, always consider using an open string to shift if possible, like this passage in Barre. The E string lets me go to the second chord more comfortably. And this will give you an ample time to shift while keeping the passage legato. Secondly, shift in the shape you're landing on. For example, in this Tedesco, I'm going from all the way up to the 12th fret. And when I'm shifting in the shape that I'm landing on, and so forth. Or another way is land with the finger and arrange the other fingers accordingly. And we'll take a look at the recuerdos that we were looking at in the other video, which is this passage. Instead of thinking it as two different chords and having that little hiccup, you can first shift with your second finger and arrange your pinky accordingly afterwards. Another thing to consider when you're thinking about shifting is keeping things legato. So there's a fine line between cutting off a note a little too short and holding on to it just long enough that it sounds connected. For example, in this Carcassi, if you cut it off a little too short like this, then it starts sounding like a hiccup, right? So these are a few things that you can consider for making shifts smoother.
Hi guys, I'm Marco Piperno and I'm hype here. Today we will speak about the dynamics. For the first, we will think at the limits of our instrument. We play guitar and not a pianoforte, and the range of dynamics is much inferior. So I want to give you an advice: have to exaggerate ever. We must consider that we have to play not only for ourselves, but we hope to play for thousands of people, and every person in the hall have to listen to you. I do an example. In one of the most important guitar competition, the Tarrega of Benicassim, where the past year my Italian friend Domenico Mottola won, in the final round you have to play with orchestra and without a microphone. So, in this case, you have to play much forte. Maybe it's a singular case, but we have to consider it. Furthermore, we have to consider the size and the reverb of the hall. If, for example, we play in a hall with much reverb, we have to play also a little slower to not mix the sound. Now we will treat the Italian terms of the dynamic with some musical example. I think that some important differences are clear, but for sure we will speak about it. When we find in the score the symbol F forte, we have to play loud, strong. Meanwhile, when we find FF fortissimo, we have to play even louder and even stronger. The same is with P and PP. When we find a symbol P, we have to play soft, and with PP, we have to play even softer. Another important difference is between crescendo and decrescendo or diminuendo. Sometimes in the score we find the abbreviation crash and decrease or dim. With crescendo we have to gradually get it louder, and with decrescendo or diminuendo we have to gradually get it softer. It's important, I said gradually, because a lot of students, when they see crescendo or diminuendo, they play immediately forte or piano, and this is wrong, because gradually means note to note. Instead, there are some little difference between the symbol MF, mezzo forte, and MP, mezzo piano. The literal translation is half forte and half piano. With mezzo piano we have to play moderately soft, and with mezzo forte we have to play moderately loud. But if for example we have to play with orchestra and we find mezzo forte, we have to play forte. This is important. Many guitarists and composers of all times recommend this. Like Molino in the 19th century, in the Grand Concert, he recommended that the guitarist had to play very forte and the orchestra very soft and with mute. Some of the most difficult symbols of dynamic to interpret for a student are SF, sforzato, and RF, or RFZ, rinforzando, and SMZ, smorzando. Sforzato means a forced sound, almost to the limit, but we have to pay attention. In Giuliani's music, this symbol has to be interpreted like an accent. In his music, this symbol is much used, and playing this with a forced sound is a bad musical taste. So, rinforzando RFZ is little different. The translation is reinforcing. You have to play just a little loud, but not like an accent. In the last symbol SMZ, smorzando, literally translated dying away, you have to gradually stop the note. Another thing about this symbol is the duration of the dynamics. Usually, the duration of sforzato and smorzato is just for one note or an accord. Instead, rinforzando is for one phrase, for example. However, this is not a fixed rule, but sometimes it needs to be interpreted. Now I will play just a phrase of a fourth movement of Sonata No. 1 by Bogdanovich. Here the dynamic is fortissimo, but we have to not to play fortissimo for the whole part, but only the principal notes. The notes of the melody that in this case is the bass line. Here there is a quote of there is a quote of Poema Sinfonico by Mussorgsky, A Night on Bad Mountain. Now this is the example. So the fortissimo is in the bass line. And that's all for this episode. I hope everything was clear. See you at the next and the last episode. Bye!
Thank you.